news pundit screaming about Kanye. She said, mental health is no excuse for that type of language. Yes, it is, bitch. You can kill somebody if you're mentally ill. I don't think Kanye is crazy at all. I think he's possibly not well. Well, I've been to Hollywood. It's a lot of Jews. Like a lot. But that didn't mean anything. You know what I mean? There's a lot of black people in Ferguson, Missouri. Doesn't mean we run the place.
You can drop the most outrageous racist joke ever. As long as the public is laughing, you won't face any consequences. But if you drop a joke on Jewish people, no matter how hard the public is laughing, you will have the CIA knock on your door. This video isn't about spreading hate towards the Jewish community, but it's about understanding how our world, our environment, the media made us perceive the Jewish community. I know that's obvious, but being a Jewish person doesn't give you a physical trait. It doesn't give you a facial trait. You don't know when you're talking to a Jewish person. That makes it hard to debunk the already established ideas or stereotypes. Black people, Asians, Arabs, Indians, white people can all recognize those different ethnicities. You can go towards those groups, ask them questions, know about them, and debunk your already established ideas. And out of the three big religions, Judaism is the only one that feels like it's more viewed as a nationality than a religion. Judaism might be the only religion that you can't really associate with the group. Christianity, you can associate with Europeans/white people. Islam, you can associate with Arabs. Hinduism, Indians. Buddhism, Asians. And the fact that people view Judaism as a nationality but can't even associate with someone kind of feeds that general paranoia.
If you're walking through the street and you meet a Jewish person, you might not even know they're Jewish because they just represent as white presenting. The only time you really internalize someone's Jewish is when you hear about them achieving things. Right? It's not like Asians. I see Asians at my corner store. I see them in the streets. They're visible. They're on the buses with me. I don't know when I'm next to a Jewish person. So my only media interpretation of Jewish people is in positions of power or in rap songs being spoken about very poorly.
How is the general perception of the Jewish community supposed to change when it feels like the public isn't allowed to learn about them? Because the only thing most of the people know about the Jewish community or hear about them is that, oh, they own all the banks, they got all the pharmacies, they make all the money, they run the world, they're the one who run the Illuminati. I mean, not every single Jewish person has a Lamborghini, has a bank, or a pharmacy. Imagine someone who's never met a black person and already has pre-established ideas from his environment, family, all that. And then he has to go to college in a big city. Obviously, his first encounter will be clouded by his pre-established ideas. But after getting to know him, you'll just realize that there are human beings like him, that not all black people are thieves, not all black people can play basketball, not all black people like chicken. But he'll only be able to learn about that by communicating, by talking, by asking the concerned people questions. But a lot of people feel like they're not allowed to ask questions about the Jewish community.
As someone who's digested hip-hop, all I ever heard since the 90s is like, these niggas are stealing our money, these niggas are doing that, the Jewish people control us, right? That is all I ever heard. And then I look and I got Biden's cabinet that's 50% Jewish. That's all you're seeing from a media perspective. So that's where folks have to come in and demystify the reason why. Because right now, I don't know why. Because if you don't, we're still going to see what it is. We just won't know why it's there. You get what I'm trying to say? And to just draw a quick parallel, black people are overrepresented when it comes to crime in North America. If someone says, yo, black people commit a lot of crime, and you're
That's racist!
You gotta do the extra step and be like, the reason why they're so overrepresented is due to cultural, socioeconomic issues, poverty. Then you demystify it so you understand.
And some of you might think, but bro, you can just go on the internet, you can find all the information you're looking for. People can easily educate themselves. But do you really know about the internet? Because on the internet, you can find answers that will push your point no matter if you're right or wrong. That's the problem. There's a reason why some people still believe that the earth is flat. There's a reason why people believe that this person is a reptilian, that person is a slug, don't ask me why. Or that LeBron and Ronaldo are the GOATs of their respective sport. But there are reasons behind that. And the main reason is that no matter if you're right or wrong, the internet can make you feel like the greatest genius to ever grace this planet. And depending on your ecosystem, you can fall down into a deep rabbit hole. I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw a post saying that the Jews were greedy. Then I saw another one saying that the Jews own all the big companies and were in all the big industries. And then guess what I saw on the third post? I know, that thing escalated from 0 to 100 real quick, but that's just how it goes on TikTok or just any social media, to be honest. And the first time you might see that content and laugh and move on, but the more you get exposed to it, the more indoctrinated you will be, the more brainwashed you'll end up because of that. Constant exposure will make you believe in that no matter how intelligent you think you are, no matter how intelligent you actually are, you will end up believing those things you see. And the only way to be immune in this situation is by getting to know the concerned community. And to further my point, I'm gonna use Gran Torino as an example.
Walt faces many sources of turmoil in his life. We start the movie with the death of Walt's wife, who he considered his last anchor to the beauty of humanity. Walt now has to deal with his astoundingly selfish and materialistic sons and grandchildren who want nothing more than to take away his car, his furniture, and his house. Walt is also living beside Tao and is thus exposed to the Hmong gangs as well as other creeps from around the neighborhood. He acknowledges that he is old school in that he has very outdated ideas about what it means to be a man, the role of women in society, and the presence of immigrants in America. Walt is also kind of a racist, having served in the Korean War and seeing his fellow soldiers killed mercilessly. Walt could do with a lot of peace in his life, and this is initiated by Sue, his neighbor and Tao's sister, who invites Walt into her home and exposes him to the Hmong culture. It is in Sue and then Tao where Walt finds his spiritual family.
This man really went from the most racist motherfucker on this planet to a peaceful, open-minded guy. I mean, put this guy in a prime MW2 lobby, he would commit genocide.
Way to go, old man.
Shut up, pussy. What is all this bro shit anyway? Want to be super spade or something? These guys don't want to be your bro, and I don't blame them. Now get your old fade patty ass on down the road.
That's how dangerous he is, of a menace that guy is. But how was he able to become an open-minded lefty? Because he was able to communicate, because he was able to learn about the other culture, about the Vietnamese values, how they are, that they are just like him, they just have another culture. Now it's time to tackle the most infamous stereotype about Jewish people, that the entire Jewish community is fucking rich. Whether it was your first time being introduced to this religion, or after meeting dozens of Jewish people, that might be the most common thing you've heard about this religion. But I've always wondered why, because just like in every community, you will find rich people like poor people. But why do we make it sound like Jewish people are right on this planet with the money, the banks? And before doing my research for this video, I had no clue on how the Jewish community was always able to be successful throughout history, despite all the harsh events they had to go through. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are still clueless.
What is it about the Jewish people that makes them so adept at success? One major factor is education. The commandments and laws of the Torah are central to Judaism, and Jews have been carefully reading the Torah to follow its laws for millennia. Not all Jews were scholars, but a heavy emphasis and great prestige was placed on knowledge of the law and education. And as a result, virtually every time and place that Jews lived, they tended to reach a higher level of literacy and numeracy than the surrounding non-Jewish populations. Now add to that urbanization. An average Jew in 12th century Paris could go to the market and buy wool from farmers. He could then travel to far-off Islamic Cairo, and even in a time when Christians and Muslims were not especially hospitable to each other, meet with someone who spoke, wrote, and read a similar language and abided by the same Jewish economic laws. There he could sell the wool and return with silk and spices, along with contracts for more of the same. In this way, Jews would have already been ahead of the curve in establishing finance and trade routes that would have cut out the various middlemen required for a German or Frenchman to do the same thing. There's another important contributing factor to Jewish wealth that had to do with their unique position in Catholic society. Early church law, like Jewish law, forbade lenders from charging interest on loans, but only between Christians. Jews were exempt from the ban on money lending and therefore benefited from a super ironic monopoly that lasted for a few centuries.
This is why the butterfly effect is real. One small change can lead to big events. This small piece of information can change your entire perception of the Jewish community. But why don't people have access to this information? Because it feels like we're not allowed to ask questions. And just like Abba and Preach said, we need to demystify this subject. If I say that there are a lot of black people in the NBA, I am not disrespecting the community, I'm just stating a fact. If I say that most of the PMU bars in France are owned by Asian/Chinese, and on paper, statistically, more than 50% of the bars are owned by Asians, then I am not disrespecting the community once again, I'm just stating a fact. As long as there's no racism involved, as long as your goals are not to spread hate, I don't see any problems talking about it, because let's not act like that's not our reality. Let's not act that's not how things are. This is why I'm saying that there are a lot of Jews in Hollywood, or there are a lot of big companies that are owned by the Jewish community isn't pejorative. I'm just stating a fact. But for a lot of people, they feel like if they say that, they will either get cancelled or something bad's gonna happen. Because right now, people are comparing the Jewish community to celestial dragons.
The world nobles are essentially the ruling class of the One Piece planet due to their association with and in fact direct control over the world government. In fact, the makeup of the modern day world nobility are the direct descendants of 19 of the 20 kings who established the world government roughly 800 years ago. Although to say they retain the qualities of a good ruler, or even those of passing nobility, would be entirely inaccurate to say the least. Whatever they may have been in the past, the world nobles have become an incredibly disconnected sect of extremist elites who constantly abuse their power and resources in order to fulfill fleeting selfish desires.
This is why information is so important. The way you can mold someone, the way you can mold their perception is fascinating and frightening. If you take it from the other community's point of view, it feels like one community is getting all the privileges without any reason. And don't get me wrong, the Jewish people have been through a lot throughout history. Just what happened 80 years ago, that's the biggest recent event. But it still feels like our environment is putting them above the others, because black people have been through slavery, what happened in Vietnam, Algeria, Latin America, or to the Native Americans, and even more. But the world doesn't address it the same way. If a black person gets brutally deleted by the police, yes, the black community might go on a riot. The government will listen to them, act like they're gonna change things, but in reality, nothing changes. And it might be the same for the Arab community, but for another community like the Asian one, the government won't even take the time to look at them. For a lot of people, it feels like if you attack the Jewish community, they don't need to talk, things will happen. And even if in more than 95% of the cases that's not true, our environment has created a filter in which a lot of people believe in, and the fact that it feels like you're not allowed to ask questions or talk about them gives the impression that it is a forbidden subject, and that leads to a lot of people believing that they run the world. I just think it's an important point to address now, because with how fast fake news can spread with social media, you don't know what can happen. The smallest fake news can have the biggest impact in this world. Butterfly effect once again. Until we demystify this subject, who knows what will happen. I prefer to prevent than heal, but come on, we're talking about the human species. We bound to heal. That's all we do every time. We don't prevent, we heal. And also, I want to address in this video what's happening in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine. You can be Jewish without being Israeli, and vice versa. And if you know what's going on, you don't need me to help you make your judgment. That will be it for this video, guys. I hope you had a great time. Don't hesitate to subscribe, like, share with a friend, comment, because I really want to hear your point of view concerning this subject. And I hope to see you soon, guys.